I have 3 books, okay, and they're actually in a specific order. So the purple one is this is the foundation of everything that we do. It's called The Power of People, 4 kinds of people who can change your life. And those 4 kinds of people are adders, subtractors, multipliers, and dividers. So if you're in here today and you haven't been in a session before, Miss Alana, is it Myra? Miss Myra, what you'll want to do at some point is get this book as your first book, okay? Because this book actually is going to just lay an amazing foundation for you in a couple of ways. One, about who you are, what does it mean to be powerful, and who these 4 types of powerful people are. Okay, so this session is actually like a part 3 session that is in this work. Okay, so like for example at Allianz, when I go to a corporation for the first time, the first thing I do is I teach you about your personal power. I mean, it's just the same thing, personal power and your birthright. That's where I start, right? And then from there, you can start building on this other place. Hello, hello, come on in. Go ahead and sign in, come on in. So the moment that, and this is my oldest book. This was written in 2002. And the moment that this book hit the market and people started reading it, and I started doing conferences around it, the very next question was, what do I do about subtractors? That's the next question. Anywhere I go, that's what people want to know about. Because you have these people in your life, it's a reality. They're in your life, so what are you going to do about them, right? And the other reality is that you can't just kick people out of your life. It just doesn't work that way. You know, if they're your boss, you just don't kick them out of your life because, you know, you work there, you have a paycheck coming, right? If they're your mom, you don't discriminate. So the second book here was the book that came out of that question, what do I do about my subtractors? And this book here is the book for this session. Everything I talk about today will be in this book. And what I would encourage you to do is take this book home with you and go, I mean, literally read it like a textbook, underline. It's incredible. It's just an amazing resource for you that you'll come back to over and over again. And it's written according to types of people. So there's a chapter in here about your boss. There's a chapter in here about your friend. There's a chapter in here about your coworker. There's a chapter in here about what I call your just is people. Those are your family members. They just is, right? There's nothing you can do about your family members. They're your family. They're never going to go away. You know, you can't trade them in, right? They just is. So what do you do about just is family members? And there's a whole chapter. And in the Just Is family chapter, it even talks about your children, your spouse. Just this book like breaks it down. So today, based on whatever you wrote on your papers, I'll take strategies from this book and we'll work through those strategies based on your scenarios, which is why I need to kind of know what they are. So what we're doing is just kind of on your paper, just write a little bit about if there's a specific subtractor, kind of what's going on, how do you know they're subtracting from you, kind of what's happening, so you kind of have some things to work on, okay? So just jot some of those things down on your paper, and you don't have to hand this paper in. This is your paper, and you can take notes on it. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and start. We always start with a way to connect all of us together. So bring yourself, just yourself, and meet me in the middle very quickly, come on in. When we talk about personal power and people, yes, it gets a little tricky sometimes. Put yourselves and you're going to talk about why you came today. Go ahead and start. How do you know whoever you're talking about is a subtractor? How do you know that that person is a subtractor in your life? You don't have to say who they are. You just have to say, how do you know? How do you know they're a subtractor? So what are some signals that there's a subtractor in your life? Okay, so Janae's coming now. Let's hoop her up. And move down one, move down. So having subtractors in your life is a reality. And no one gets to escape having a subtractor in their lives. Because the power of a subtractor is a real power. And it just doesn't go away, right? You can't like just wish it away. Go away, go away, go away, please, 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 right? And just blink. You tried. Doesn't work, does it? No, it takes work. And so just to open up your mouth and begin to speak what is going on, dealing with the reality, whether it's good or bad, and your subtractors are at all different levels. Some of your subtractors are like, you know, they just irritate you, right? And every once in a while they'll do stuff because they're socialized. And then others are just chronic. They're like, I am going to suck you dry. And when I'm done with you, it's all going to be gone. It's all going to be gone. You're going to lose your self-confidence. You're going to lose your peace. You're going to lose your money. You're going to lose your husband. It's over, right? Because they're like there, right there. So there's all these different, like this spectrum of subtractors that you need to know what exactly is going on in your life, but know that you're not alone. Know that you're not alone. So give at least 3 people a high five and say, you are powerful, you were born powerful, and you can deal with your subtractors. And have a seat. You're powerful, you were born powerful, and you can deal with your subtractors. You are powerful, you were born powerful.
You were born powerful.
And you can deal with your subtractors. You were born powerful, you can deal with your subtractors. That's so important for you to know. That's so important for you to know. You don't have to tell me who they are, but you do have to tell me their categories. How many of you, the subtractors that you're dealing with, the category is family? Okay, lots of family. All right. How many of you are work? Okay? All right. So we'll do some work around family, and we'll do some work around jobs. Okay? For people who are on jobs, how many of those subtractors you report to? They're a boss. Okay? All right. How many are co-workers? All right. Okay. So we have bosses, we have co-workers, we have family members. All right? So we're going to first of all start with subtractor personalities. Come on in. Come on in. There are 7 personalities. You can go ahead and sign in. There's a seat right over there. There are 7 types of subtractor personalities, and you need to know kind of who you're dealing with, all right? So the first type is a smiler. These people are the nicest people. They would not ever do anything to harm or hurt you, but they take everything out of your life. They're smilers, okay? Now, before I even go into the second one, let me tell you that there's 3 categories of subtractors. And the 3 categories are socialized. They don't know what they're doing. They're clueless. Their mama was a subtractor, so they're a subtractor. Their parents were subtractors, so they're subtractors. And how do you know? What's the signal of a subtractor? Things begin to leave your life. Your self-confidence, down. Right? Your belief in yourself, down. Your negativity, up. The drama, negative drama in your life, up. Right? Your resources, decrease. Your sense of fulfillment and peace, decrease. You go home at night, and now you're not sleeping so well. Because you're thinking about what? The subtractor. So some subtractors are simply socialized. They don't know what they're doing. They were socialized to take things, so they take things from you. So it is very simple. When we teach children this, right? You teach children. We teach children to be subtractors. When you tell your child, and this is and people do this all the time. When you tell your child, if someone looks at you, if they even look at you like they're going to do something to you, you do something first. People tell their kids that. And then we wonder how come we have bullying issues in schools. Why? Because we're teaching kids how to be subtractors. Right? So you just socialized. Now the great thing about socialized is that most subtractors, 85% of subtractors in your life are socialized. They don't know what they're doing. They're simply doing what's been done to them. They're socialized. And then there's situational subtractors. These are people who, for some reason or another, they have an issue with you. Come on in. There's a seat right here. They have an issue with you based on something that's happened. Okay? Now, this happens, for example, a lot with people who've been divorced. You're doing just fine, you're happy, until your ex shows up. And then you see your ex come down the hallway and you get this feeling and you go, roar. Or someone who you've worked with and they hurt your feelings and you see them and you get mad. It's what? It's situational, right? And so it's not like they're always a subtractor. They're just a subtractor around particular people. And that's very, very rare. And then you have subtractors who are simply chronic. How you doing, ma'am? Good. Good, good, good. They're chronic subtractors. These are people, they've made up their mind. They've made up their mind. And this is about 10% of people. And about 5% are actual chronic. They have decided to be a subtractor. They've made up their mind. They know what they're doing. And they've decided that they're going to be a subtractor to you. And no matter what you do, they're going to take things out of your life. No matter what. Now with a chronic subtractor, let me just say that this person, you work on completely moving them out of your inner circle. Get them out of your inner circle. What happens if this chronic subtractor is your mom? If it's actually your mother? How do you move her out of your inner circle totally? Well, she may call you 10 times a day now. And 9 times of the day you pick up the phone. Now you're going to pick up the phone what? 1 time a day. And then you're going to move to picking up the phone once every 2 days. And then you're going to move to picking up the phone once a week. Come on in, right? You can get some more chairs, Miss Amelia. Right? So what you're going to do is at less and less and less and less and less time. So I'm going to give you some big categories around subtractors so you can immediately begin to see things change. Okay? So 3 types of subtractors. Take a look at your subtractors and just jot on your paper, are they chronic, situational, and or are they socialized? Chronic, situational, or socialized? Okay? Now let's go into the 7 types of subtractor personalities. How many of you have any chronic subtractors? Any chronic ones? Okay, so you have a couple chronic ones. Okay, good. All right, so it's not good, but with chronic ones, you can move them out of your life faster than you can a socialized or a situational one. All right, so here are 7 types of personality of subtractors. First is the smiler. Nice people. They've been taking from you all of your life, and they do it with a smile, and they always feel bad about it. And they say, oh, I'm so sorry, I made you feel bad. But they make you feel bad again the next day. Oh, I'm so sorry, will you please forgive me? But the next day they take all of your money. Oh, you're so nice, you're the best person ever, right? But then the next day they take the keys to your car. And they'll smile their way right through your life. Now let me just say, the smilers are the easiest to deal with because they truly are clueless. They don't really know what they're doing. And once you actually talk to a smiler, and once you actually have what we call a private snatching, right? You have to do a private snatching with your smiler. I'll give you a script for a private snatching before we're done. They will simply change just like that. It's like overnight. A smiler will just turn just like that, and they'll turn into great allies for you. Smilers, they're very, very easy. And then number 2 is a shamer. Shamer are a little tough to deal with because shamers look for, hi Miss Molly, they look for situations to remind you of your failure. And they always do that publicly. So you know you're dealing with a shamer when every time you're around more than 2 people, your shamer will remind you of all the things that you've done wrong in that time when you made that mistake. If your boss is a shamer, you'll get into a team meeting and your boss will sarcastically tell everyone around the table how you messed up and how you messed up really badly. And their goal is to shame you. And then there is the blamer. Okay? Now the blamer, they're kind of fun because they simply want someone to blame for their issues. And they take no accountability at all. So if for some reason a blamer's car breaks down, it's going to be your fault. It's always your fault. And what's so interesting about blamers is they are usually subtractors to the very people that they love, right? Because they know that the people that they love will not just like get rid of them and put them out. And however, they continue to blame you for anything gone wrong. If they didn't get the job, they blame you. You didn't wake them up on time. You didn't make the coffee right. Right? They blame you. If a blamer is a boss, what happens? If you don't get a project, if something doesn't go right, what happens? It's your fault. It's always someone else's fault. And a blamer wants to look for ways to what? Not be accountable and to give you the reason and let you be the reason that they're failing. Now, blamers are really fun people to deal with because you cannot argue with a blamer. A blamer doesn't do logic. It's not like, okay, well, this happened, don't you remember this happened? No, they don't do that. They're just into blaming, and they're going to blame you no matter what, right? And then there's this snipper nipper. This is my all-time favorite.
Can I just say amen to that one?
Oh, sure, you can say amen. By the way, you can say amen anytime you want. Just. The blamer. Miss Lynette. No logic to them. Right, and you're right. And you're trying to think, well, this and this and this, and they're like, oh, logic goes out the window. They don't care about logic. All they want to know is that there's a place to blame, and you're it. Right? So stop trying to like be intellectual with them. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, come on, Anolita. So the next one is the snipper nipper. This is my all-time favorite to talk about because it's so prevalent, right? And these are subtractors who little by little find little faults about you. And here's what they do. They say, oh, Dr. Verna, you shouldn't have done that. I don't like your hair. Why'd you wear those shoes? How come your car is that color? Why'd you cook that? Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If you can imagine subtractor scissors, they're just snipping, 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 snipping. And by the time you're done, you are like a skeleton. There's nothing left on you because you have been like so snipped down. And as they snip you, your self-confidence just falls. Anytime I see someone folded up like this, I know they have a snipper nipper. And if you have a snipper nipper combined with a blamer, oh, you're in trouble, right? Because they're just like snipping, nipping, snipping, blaming you for everything. So a part of the work is when you get rid of those subtractors, your life literally straightens up because you get your breath again. Hi, Julieta, good to see you. You get your breath again. Why? Because there's not always someone who's like suffocating you with their negative words. So think about who you're dealing with. And then, let's see, there is the worrier. This is an interesting person. This personality type, they actually want the best for you, but they don't quite know how to say it. So instead what they do is they worry you. And they say, you know, Molly, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you shouldn't go there. And I think that maybe what if something happens to your car? And, you know, they just sit and they worry and they worry and they worry about things, but they never find a solution. And the best way to describe a worrier is someone who's in a rocking chair. They're rocking back and forth, but they're not going anywhere, right? So a worrier in your life, they take your life nowhere, but what they do is they end up stressing you out so much that they almost like, they get you to the place where you're frozen out of fear that something's going to happen, something's going to go wrong. When in fact, you haven't even taken a step yet. But the worry is for sure going to tell you can't do that. Well, you're going to quit your job? Well, what if you can't find another job? And what if you, you know, they're kind of like, and if you stick with the worrier, you'll be hyperventilating all the time. Like, I don't, you know, right? And then your face gets all weird, and you know, I can always tell worriers too. They're all squinted out, I don't know, right? Worriers. And then right on the other side of worriers, these are really great people. They are dreamers. Love these people. Dreamers. Now here's the thing about dreamers. Dreamers are the 7 personalities of subtractors. They're the most brilliant, and they're the closest that you'll get to being an adder and a potential multiplier. However, here is what happens with the dreamer. They always have big ideas, but no follow-through. And they always get you involved in their big ideas. And then they leave the follow-through to you, and you get stuck with the whole thing. It's called a dreamer. So you've met a dreamer. So they'll come to you and say, "Oh, Miss Jessica, we should start a business." And then you'll do all this work to start a business, and they won't do their part. And you'll be left with the whole thing. And then next week they'll say, "We should start a business. We should do this. We should invest in this. We should invest in that." And before you know it, you are like so absolutely broke. Everything is falling apart for you, and you are left with the whole thing. This is a dreamer. And they have big ideas, great ideas. They never follow through, and they always leave you with what? The problems of the dream. And then the most dangerous of this, and I say dangerous because this person can really, they can mess your life up in a big way, and it's the gamer. The gamer comes closest to a divider, and the reason being is that they study your thought patterns, how you think, and then what they do is they mess with your mind. And they make you think that you're the one that's crazy. Right? They make you think that you're the one with the problem. You're the one that's, you know, you're the one that has the issue. When in fact, you are not at all. And a gamer, you do have to go directly after a gamer. You can't play with them. You can't try to run away from them. You have to confront them directly, and then you have to dismiss them out of your life and not give them any more information for the gamer. You got to move them out. They're the most dangerous, and they can have the most dangerous impact on your life, because once they get a hold of too much of your information, they're going to use it, and they're going to use it to make your life miserable. Gamers. So take a minute, take a look at your person, give them a couple of, one or a couple of personality traits. Make sure. Now, if they're all of them, we're really in trouble. You know, are they a smiler? Are they a shamer? Are they a blamer? Snipper, nipper, worrier, dreamer?
Dr.Verna?
Yes,
What do you do if you just realize that you're the subtractor?
That's all right. You're going to have to gracefully move the power of subtracting out of your life. The thing about being a subtractor, and this is the most wonderful thing about it, unless you're a chronic one. If you're a chronic one, you can come to me and I'll work on you myself, right? And subtracting is the opposite power of adding. So they're on the same power level. So if someone, which is why the best thing about subtractors is 85% of them are socialized, which means that most subtractors, the majority of subtractors, can actually become adders, right? So you're sitting here and you're thinking, oh my goodness, you know, I'm the smiler, I'm the gamer, I'm the shamer. Guess what? You can use that same level of power to what? Become an adder. And an adder has personalities as well. Right? So a smiling adder, there's nothing. They're the most gracious, wonderful people you've ever met. So there's hope. There's hope in doing that. Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, there's no shame in it. Just the fact is that you can be real about it, and you can begin what? Working on that. Okay. You have your personality types. All right, now there's 4 major ways that subtractors are subtracting from you right now. And then let's talk about strategies to put an end to these ways, all right? The first way that subtractors subtract from you is through your time. So, question for you, you have to answer, how much time are you giving to your subtractors right now? Now let me talk about bosses. You do have to go to work. However, you don't have to go to every meeting your boss invites you to. If your boss invites you to go out, you know, after work to do this and do that, you don't have to go to every meeting, right? You do have to do your job, but you don't have to do some of these other things. When you're at work and the meeting is done, you pick up your things and you get out the door. You don't give any extra time to a subtractor. So you decrease your time. In your family life, you decrease your time with your subtractors. How much are they at your house? How much are they on your phone? How much do you hang out with them? I want you to work on taking back 50% of your time from your subtractors. 50%.
If you live with them.
You live with them. Well, are they?
Fierce, you know.
No, they are, right? So if you live with them, you have to actually manage the house and where you're going to be in that house, okay? Now, the question is, unless you're married to them or is your mama, the question is whether or not they should even be there. So that's a real big question, which you'll have to answer at some point, right? But to limit that time, you can actually, this is really interesting. President Mandela is struggling. And we just, want the best for him because he's done so much for our world, right? While he was incarcerated for 29 years, every day he had a schedule. Every day he took appointments. Every day, right? And, what it teaches us is that we have to manage that time. So even in your house, like how much time are you spending with the person, right? And there's more than one room in the house. So how much time? So just literally breaking down your time. And you can give the person, you can say, you know what, I'm going to spend an hour with this person a day. Well, can you do an hour? And in that hour, can you still manage them so they're not taking away from you in that point? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But if you can't, then you have to make sure that you find other spaces in your house, that you create a space for yourself in your house. Yeah. Okay? So time is the big thing. So how much time are you giving to your subtractor? Second thing, energy. How much of your energy are you giving to your subtractors? Take your energy back. If you find yourself, I was at the Y just the other day at the splash pad with my children, and I wanted to just reach over and take the young lady and bring her to the seminar. And her child was, at the splash pad, and she picked up the phone and she called her mom. And she called her mom specifically to tell her mom something. And her mom just launched right into her. And instead of getting off the phone, like immediately, right? So what she should have done is the very second that her mom was launching, she really should have said, you know what, Mom? This is not why I called you. And if this is what you're going to do right now, I have to go. Thank you so much. Love you. Talk to you soon. Bye. Click. You're not disrespectful, you're not mean, but you need to back out of that situation. And she stayed on the phone. She ends up in tears. She just turns into a wreck right there at the splash pad, but she stays on the phone. And her mother, through the phone, sent an energy-sucking device and took every bit of positive energy that she had in her. I want you to look for, and in your families, they're called emotional traps. Emotional traps is where people take your energy. I'm just going to give you a few of those emotional traps. The number one emotional trap that families use, and even bosses use this, is you owe me. You owe me. Now here's the reality of that, is that you never asked anyone in your family, really, to do whatever they were doing for you. They just did it. Did you ask them to come and do whatever? Unless you ask them, you don't owe anyone anything. And you have to know that when you get caught in that trap of you owe me, you have to take a look at the reality of the situation. Because people use it to keep you in debt to them. So you become imprisoned in this place of owing someone. Let me tell you, if you really owe someone and they've been really good to you and they've worked hard for you, and if it's a good relationship, it's not an owing relationship. It's a reciprocity relationship. It's a sharing relationship. If you're in a relationship where someone says, you owe me, you are talking to a subtractor. It's an emotional trap. And you simply have to move yourself out of it by simply saying to them, one, thank you for everything you've done for me. You didn't have to, but you did. But it's done now, and I have to move on with my life. Right? And you have to be able to comfortably say that and keep going and not get in that trap. The other one is that you need me. And this traps your value and your importance. That somehow A subtractor makes you feel as though you're not anybody without them. That you need me. You need me to make you somebody. You need me. Now, on the job, if your boss is treating you like that, you need me, right? That is actually abuse. And it's time for you to actually step up and speak up about things like that. Because in the workplace, when that happens and you do not do anything about it, you actually become an abused worker. And you have to start saying something about it. You have to start writing something about it. And you have to start limiting how much time you let this person into your office. I tell people all the time, if a subtractor is coming into your office, you come to the door and you meet them right at the door. Right at the door. And you say, hello, can I help you with anything? What is it? And keep them outside of your cubicle. Keep them outside your door. Don't even let them into your office. Right? And if they come into your office and just sit themselves down, turn around and start acting like you're working on your computer. Don't even look at them. It's called ignoring them. Totally ignore them. Right? And get busy, because that's what you're supposed to be doing anyway. You're supposed to be working, you're supposed to be getting busy. And you hurt my feelings is another emotional trap. These are all emotional traps that take your energy. You hurt my feelings. Well, guess what? You have lots of feelings. You will get over it. You have thousands of them. Just get another feeling and start again. But don't you get caught in that trap with subtractors where if a subtractor wants to take you into the you hurt my feelings, right? Unless you want to be in that space and it's a messy space with them, it's time for you to move yourself out of that. And by the way, stop saying I'm sorry to your subtractors. Take it out of your vocabulary. You're not sorry for anything. Unless you have specifically done something to a subtractor, then you apologize for it, and then you leave that space. What do I mean by leaving that space? I mean stop talking, get out of proximity, put down the phone. I had someone call me the other day. One of her COO sent her a huge, terrible, terrible email and expected a response. It was a subtractor. And she said, what should I do? I said, send a nice email back and say, thanks for the note. Let's talk soon. Period. Send. Because when you respond to something like that, what are you saying? I want to get back in here and I'm going to allow you to take my energy. Those are called emotional traps. Here's another emotional trap. You should be thankful. That's an emotional trap. You should be thankful. You know, I did something for you. I made something of you. You should be thankful. I love this emotional trap. This is great. That's just the way our family is. That's an emotional trap. In the workplace, this is an emotional trap. Why can't you be like somebody else? And the worst emotional trap ever is the one that goes, what will people say? Right? What will people say? Time, check your energy. Check your resources. How much of your resources are you giving to your subtractors? And I'm talking resources, everything resources, right? I'm talking money, I'm talking information, I'm talking knowledge in the workplace. If you have a coworker who's a subtractor, what they're doing is they're taking your resources. And what you must do to gracefully move them out of your sphere, out of your life in the workplace, is that you have got to stop sharing resources. If they don't want to go to the training, you don't get to do a mini training for them when you get back to the office. If they didn't want to sign up, then hey, they just missed out. The only thing that you say to them when you get back to the office is, you know, that was a great training. I wish you were there. And leave it as that. Tell them nothing. When they say, what happened? Say everything. And leave it as that. Why? Because subtractors take your resources. So here's my question for you. For your subtractors, what exactly are you giving them right now? What are you giving them? Let's talk about that. What are you giving them right now? Anyone? What are you giving your subtractors? You're giving them power. And when you give them power, that means you're giving them the ability to choose for you. So you take your power back. That means you now make decisions about your own life. That's good. Someone else. What are you giving? You're giving them permission. Permission to do what?
To move into yours.
Move into your space. They can come into your office. If you're at home, they can come into your bedroom. You don't get to come into my bedroom. You don't get to come into my office, right? And you know why? Because all of these things, subtractors know that you've made an agreement with them that they can continue doing this and it's okay. And once you break the agreement, and the only way to break an agreement is to speak it. You have to say something. This just doesn't happen. You have to say something. You have to find your voice. You have to speak it. You have to say, right? Not only do you just stop giving them resources, just literally stop. Someone else, what other kinds of resources are you giving to your subtractors?
My time.
Giving them your time. Time is valuable. It's everything. It's everything, right? So take back your time. Take back your time. Anything else you're giving to your subtractors?
Emotions.
You're giving them your emotions, right? Which is all your energy right here. And once you give away your emotions, like that poor lady at the Y, she just gave it all away. And when she was done, she was flustered. She was so stressed out. And then her poor child, then he got to, have to bear the burden of her being stressed out because the subtractor just taking things out of her life. So time, energy, resources. I'm going to include in this your networks too for your resources. Stop connecting your subtractors to your networks. If they're a subtractor, Miss Cassandra, and you know that, and they ask you, do you know someone who's really good at this and that? Right? You may know them, but you're just simply not going to share it. Why? Because you know they're a subtractor, and they're going to connect you to that subtractor. So you have to stop sharing your networks with subtractors, because then they get to your networks, and before you know it, the network is no longer a network for you. Right? So resources, energy, time, words. I want you to stop talking to your subtractors. What do I mean by stop talking to them? I mean that subtractors will invite you into an argument. And you know what they're called triggers. You know what those triggers are, right? They just have to say a certain thing to you, and what do? You just launch into them. You just jump right in the ring. And what I want you to do is I want you to step, no matter what they say, if they're talking about you or whatever, they're going to take your words. That's what they want. And they want you to give them enough words, information that they can use now to come back to you. So subtractors should know as little as possible about you. If you have plans, a subtractor shouldn't know about it. If you're going somewhere, a subtractor shouldn't know about it. If you are learning some new things, don't tell your subtractor. If you're thinking that you're going to get a new promotion, like here's a mistake people make, right? You are applying for a job and you got an interview. You call your subtractor and you tell them, I'm interviewing tomorrow. By the time you're off of the phone, you would have lost the job. Why? Because the subtractor just took your information, and they're going to use that information to definitely convince you that you are not going to get the job. Well, what if you don't get it? Right? What if you don't get it? If someone says, what if you don't get it? It's a signal. It's a signal that they are being subtractors. Okay? So these things, and the very last thing is vision and goals. Subtractors are going to work to keep you away from your vision and your goals. They're going to work to keep you away from your vision and your goals. So let's go to, I'm going to share something with you. It's called the stop technique. And I just simply want you to, well, first, let me just stop here for a second. Any questions or thoughts that you have right now before I go on to the next piece? We just have a couple of minutes here.
They use a lot of guilt a lot of times when they're talking about draining your energy, and they're talking about Even though it's like, okay, like saying things like, you should have been there for me, or
Right.
you should have done this to support me, you should have my back,
Right.
and this stuff.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And they're going to continue to do that as long as you allow them to do that. And you allow them to do that by every time they bring it up, what do? You actually try to convince them that it's different. And it's not. They're not listening to you. They just want to tell you about it. Yep. Someone else. Someone else. Any thoughts or comments? Or questions? You're good? You're good? Okay, so let's move on. So I'm going to go to something called a stop technique, and you can use this with your boss, your coworker, and or you can also use it at home, right? So the stop technique is simply S-T-O-P, and it is a way for you to, one, identify, and two, to move a subtractor out of your circle. The first thing, S, is for signal. Take a look at the signal. What is the signal right now that that person is about to pull you into a place where they're taking something out of you? Taking your time, taking your resources, what's the signal? Now, the faster that you recognize the signal, the more quickly that you can move away from it, and the more quickly you can get things done that you have to get done. Meaning, the more quickly you can get out of that relationship and leave them over there so you can continue to add to your own life, right? So what do you think are some of the signals? How do you know that a subtractor is being a subtractor in your life? Anyone? What's the signal?
They get you alone.
They get you alone. Yes, so a gamer is going to get you alone. A gamer likes you by yourself. Because what do they start doing? Questioning you. Do you really think what you really think? Absolutely. Someone else. What's another signal? What's another signal that a subtractor is doing their work, using their power in your life? What's another signal?
They make you feel bad.
They make you feel bad, and they know how to do that. They know how to say exactly that one thing. They know what your spot is. They know whether it's your job or your smile or your weight or your performance, or they know how to make you feel bad. And what's so interesting is that no one actually can make you feel bad. You decide to feel bad. Did you hear that? No one can actually make you feel bad. You have to make the decision to feel bad yourself. Right? So when a subtractor, then that signal is coming, you see that signal coming, what you have to do is you have to move yourself out of the situation. And what's the moving? You simply have to what? Stop talking to them. Most of us just talk to our subtractors too much. Any other signal? That's a very common signal. What's another signal?
Pessimistic.
Huh?
They're pessimistic.
Very pessimistic. Right? Very pessimistic. And they always see the worst for you. They always see the worst for you. So when you are talking, like say for example, you're talking to a blamer, right? So a blamer wants to blame you, and they want to argue with you. And what you do with a blamer is you simply say what the truth is. Your truth is, which is what the T is in stop. You have to take a look at the truth of your situation. What is the truth of your situation? And you have to know what your truth is. And once you state your truth, you have to stand in it and not back up from it. Here's what most people do with subtractors. They don't go to the truth. They kind of walk around it, kind of play around with it, right? And they never kind of go right to it. Here's the truth of the situation. You have to find the truth, the reality of your situation. Why is your boss a subtractor to you? Was it because the first time your boss swore at you, you didn't say anything, and you allow that? Is it because you never speak up? Is it because you just allow that behavior to happen in your life? What's the truth of the situation? Right? So you have to take a look at your truth, because whatever that truth is, and you know what? It's probably one of the hardest things about this work is to take a look at the truth. And I remember one of my subtractors, the truth was that I was enabling this person to be a subtractor in my life. I was giving them all the tools that they needed to subtract from my life. I was giving them time to subtract from me. I was giving them energy to subtract from me. I was giving them the resources. I was enabling them to subtract from me. And then I got the nerve to be upset when they actually subtracted from me. Yes? But the truth was that it was on me to stop that behavior. So for you, I just want you to think about, what is the truth of your situation that you wrote down? What's the real truth? What is your part in that truth? And what do you have to take back in that truth? Okay? So, yes. Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It has to do with, the process that I've gone through with my subtractors. And so I stopped the communication at the time. But then it's like, maybe 2 months will go by. Mm-hmm. I'll get this phone call.
Sure.
And I don't know how to respond to that. It's like, because they're all were nice and loving, but my life kind of went just down the drain.
Right.
So it's like, okay, their birthday's coming up, and then they call me, and then I don't know how to respond after I've made, because I haven't verbally sat down with each one of them to tell them that I've moved on.
And you may not have to. You may not have to. So when you take a look at the 3 or 4 of them, whether it's 2 or 3, is there one that you really think is socialized? And then if you did have a conversation with them and shared the truth with them, that they would actually change? Okay? And I don't know the answer to that, but you have to, using this method, you could figure that out. Right? So, but you know what the signals are. And you have to find out the truth of the situation. And then the next piece is really where you can have a conversation with your subtractors. And the conversation is what we call options. This is the O piece. Now let me just say, only have this conversation if you have done this work and if you believe your subtractor is a socialized or a situational subtractor. If they're a chronic subtractor, don't even use this method. You don't really have an option here, right? Because if they're chronic and they are determined to subtract from you, what you do is you simply let them go. You stop. You stop all of this. And even if it's your mom, right? You stop spending time with your mom. You stop spending time with her. You used to see her every week, now you see her every month. You used to see her every month, now you see her every 2 months. You stop giving your energy to your mom when she goes in a conversation of, you owe me. This is what our family is like. You simply say, you know what, this is what we've chosen for our family, and that's not really what I believe. But I do have to go now. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye. Okay. Can you all get your cell phones out here for a minute, please? I just need you to do this real quickly. Okay? Okay. Can you please find the off button? Can you find the hang up button on your phone? Okay. So, did you find it? Did you find it? All right. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm the subtractor calling you, so you can like do this, right? And this is a chronic subtractor. They gotta go. There's no question about it. They gotta go. Even if they're your mama, they gotta go. When your boss tries to call you at home and they're a subtractor, they have to go. Cut them off. Okay, so I'm going to pretend. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, ring. And what I want you to do is to hit the hang-up button. 1, 2, 3, ring. Hit the hang-up button. Didn't that feel good? Just hit the button. In other words, stop giving them your energy, just if they're chronic. Now, if they are socialized or situational, what do? We give them options. And let me tell you, when you give them the options, they are your options, not theirs. This is not a discussion. This is giving them options. And the options go something like this. I care about you. I think you're the best. However, this is what you've been doing in my life. And if we're going to be in a relationship, it can't be like this anymore. Your boss. I really enjoy this work. I believe in the mission of this company. However, this is what's been happening. And I feel disrespected. And I feel as though I'm not valued here. And I would rather not be here than to be in this situation and be working like this. And I don't even know if you know what's really going on or you realize what is happening here. But I just need to tell you about it. And we can have a conversation afterwards, but you just need to know what is going on. I'm going to still keep doing my best for this company. I'm going to still do my best job, but I just need you to know what is going on. And it's taken a place of innocence. If they're socialized, they'll say, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you felt that way. Wow. And then before you know it, things change. But you have to give them some options. And your options have to simply be, this is how this needs to change. This is how the relationship needs to change. This is what is, look very carefully, this is what is my non-negotiables. You have to know what those, you have for a subtractor. You have to have some non-negotiables. This is what I cannot have in my life. This is what I cannot, accept in my life. This is what I cannot do in my life. This is what I cannot deal with from you in my life. I cannot do it. This is a non-negotiable. So if you're going to disrespect me, it's a non-negotiable. And that means that we can't have a relationship. It's a non-negotiable. So what are you doing? You're giving them options. And once you've given them options, the last is P, you now have to create a plan. And what is that plan? The plan is how you're going to move forward with your relationship. This entire conversation is about how can you gracefully move them out of your life. Gracefully move them on. You first do your work. And your work is to know who they are. Are they socialized? Are they situational? Are they chronic? And then take a look at what they're doing. Are they taking time, energy, resources, words, vision, dreams? What are they doing? And then actually use this plan. Sit down with them. Call a meeting. A private snatching is where you call them. And you call the meeting on your time. You don't allow them to have a private snatching with you. You do the private snatching. And you do the private snatching when you are feeling good, right? When you feel good about yourself. When you're doing good, that's when you do a private snatching. And you do it on your own time and on your own place. You don't allow a subtractor to kind of back you into a corner and do a private snatching with you. That's not how this goes. Because what they'll do is they'll continue to take out of your life. And as an adder, and here's my work for you, is, I want you to be an adder to yourselves. And to do this work, you have to be an adder. Because in this work, you're kind of taking the judgment out of it. And you're simply saying, you know what? I believe in you. I want this relationship. I want this to work. And so here are the signals. Here's when this happened. Here's the truth about this situation. Here are the options. And what's going to, now we can say, now what's our plan? What's going to be, what are you going to do differently? What am I going to do differently? What are we going to change? What agreements are we going to change in making sure this plan goes? And stick with your plan, right? And if they are not going to stick with the plan, let me tell you, it's very easy. It's very, very easy. Time, cut the time off. Resources, cut it off. Words, cut it off. Energy, cut it off. And let me tell you, when you do that, I don't want you feeling guilty about it. Why? Because the power of subtracting it's a power that just so depletes your life that you simply can't move ahead. So as long as there's someone pulling you back into your drama and your failure and your pain, you won't ever move back. And this work of power is about what? Moving forward, taking an action step. Questions, thoughts, comments? We have about 2 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I get all this stuff about subtractors and stopping them and stuff like that, and I think that putting that into perspective, I think it'd be semi-easy for me, if you will. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to your mom,
yes,
it doesn't fit in here,
right?
Because where is your duty as a daughter in my case?
Right.
Where is your duty to honor your mother and your father and all this stuff?
Great.
Where does that fit? That's
great. And it's so interesting because the Bible says honor them. It never says love them or like them. It never said be their friend, never said hang out with them. And you could have a high level duty to your parents. You know what? When they need you, you're there. But when they want to launch into the conversation of what's wrong with you, you have to simply say, you know what, Mom? That's a conversation I cannot have with you. Now, is there anything else that I can do for you right now? Love you, think you're the best. but I have to go. That place, I can't do that place with you. Right? So you have to put some non-negotiables in that relationship. Otherwise, they'll just tear you apart if they happen to be a subtractor. You know, thankfully, maybe you have a mom who's an adder, and that's a wonderful thing. But if they happen to be a subtractor, you have to give them boundaries so that they know those spaces that you're just not going to have that conversation. You're just not going to go there. Right? I had a situation just recently, and someone came to my house, and they just wanted to launch into their drama and launch into blaming everyone. And they came in, and I looked at them, and I said, "Are you hungry?" I said, "Would you like something to drink?" I said, because if you came here thinking that you're going to blame someone for your own issues, you're in the wrong house. That's not the right house for that. But if you're hungry, I'll feed you. And then you can take you and all your stuff right out the door and go and blame somebody else. It's not going to work here. Would you like some chicken? Right? Because I refuse to step in there. Look at the person next to you and say, stop stepping in the ring. Right? So you go in there and you do all this stuff. Just stop going there. Just absolutely stop going there. And when you know the signals are. So what do? It's about what? You being mindful about this work and knowing when to let go. Okay? Questions, thoughts, comments?
How did that blamer respond to your,
They stopped talking. Because I simply wasn't going to have a conversation, because there wasn't a conversation to be had. They just wanted to blame somebody. And I was not going to take the blame. I just simply wasn't. This is, it's not my responsibility. I'm not going to be accountable for you. You're accountable for you. And I'm not getting into that conversation with you. Now, would you like some chicken? And I wasn't mean and terrible or anything. I just needed them to know that that's a space I just wasn't going to go into. Just wasn't going to go into. Yes?
I think what's interesting is that as I'm listening to you, like the reason I don't do those things is because I don't want to communicate to them I'm rejecting them, which is why I haven't done that in the past. But when I'm listening to you, I'm like, well, that's not rejection. You want some chicken? Right. You still love them. Right. You still love them. But let me just say that most people never do this work because they want someone to like them. You're too caught up in people pleasing. You want someone to like you, and you're afraid if you actually tell the truth, right, and present the options, that they may not like you anymore. And that's a part of the work, right? They may not like you anymore. Look at the person next to you and say, get over it. Get over it. Right? They may not like you anymore. We are wrapping up here our Power Series. We're done for the summer. We'll be back, I believe, in September. We'll be back in September, and we'll continue this work. I invite you to come back. I invite you to bring your friend. We'll be in a new space. I think we're going to be in St. Louis Park. We're moving the space for the fall into a new space. And just so you know, we're actually using this series to create a cable show, the Dr.Verna show, which actually empowers people to be excellent in work and life. And so all of this videotaping that you see here actually is being compiled into creating these kind of 20-minute shows for cable television stations all over Minnesota, so people can get this work and understand it. So our fall sessions, there'll probably be a whole lot more people here simply because more people will know about it. But in the meantime, I encourage you, if you haven't read the Power of People book, to get this book. This will be very helpful to you. If you have read this book, I would like you to do a self-study all by yourself with this book, Dealing with Subtractions to Work and Life. It goes into depth and all of these things we've talked about, so you have this in your hand. They're all here available today. At some point, I'll talk about the third book, Change Your Life in 30 Days, but that's not for today. But thank you all so much for coming, and hope you got lots to work with. Okay, thank you.